The purpose of my paper is to deal with articles published in the Scribe, the Journal of Babylonian Jewry, published by the Exilarch Foundation in 1971 in London, headed by the late Professor Sir Naim Dangoor, the former honorary president of the Association of Jewish Academics from Iraq, established on 1980 in Jerusalem. During my work on editing the Arabic translation of articles in memory of Professor Naim Dangoor, dealing with Iraqi Jews and Arab-Israeli conflict, the number of articles published on Baghdadi Jews in India and the Far East has been impressive and of special importance to any research on this important issue. In the 19th century, the term Baghdadi Jews, Bghadda, was used for Jews from Iraq, formerly Mesopotamia, and other parts of the Middle East. They were Arabic-speaking Jews who were different from other Jewish communities who came to India when Portugal conquered a part of India at the beginning of the 16th century. Under the Mongols, the Indian port of Surat became an important trading center, attracting Europeans as well as Baghdadis and Basrawi Jewish merchants. The British gradually took over the whole of India under the rule of the British East India Company, and from 1747, Baghdadi Jews came to Surat to escape Islamic harassment and to make peace, to trade peacefully with no threat to their fortune and life. Some of them stayed for a few years and after acquiring wealth, returned to Baghdad. The first place in India in which Jewish immigrants from Mesopotamia and Syria settled was Surat, the important commercial center and prosperous port of India. The first step taken in their settlement was trade, building synagogues, religious schools, and purchasing graveyards for their communal purposes. The wealthy merchants among them were accompanied by Hachamim and Shohatim and Hazanim. Among the early settlers in 1767 was Yaakov Ishaq Dawid, who came from Baghdad to Surat, acquiring wealth, built a synagogue, and after his death in Surat, was buried in his burial plot. His son and grandson moved to Bombay in 1790. At the end of the 18th century, the Jewish community began moving from Surat to Bombay and Calcutta, and also established a new community in Pune. The question now arising is why Eastern Jews chose to settle in India. In my opinion, as an Orientalist, it is because in Islamic world, the Sharia, Islamic law, dominates the state and people in their daily life. Non-Muslims have to live as second-class citizens, themselves, subject to rigid Islamic laws, paying jizya, poll tax, and bribing influential Muslim personalities for protection. Formal legal opinions, fatwa, to protect Jewish holy site and rich personalities were and are given according to the whim of the Muslim rulers and scholars and to the amount of bribery offered to them, as in the case of the Prophet Yehezkel shrine in Kifl. The Jews in the Sunni Ottoman Empire suffered more than other minorities. European powers protect Christian and other minorities from persecution. You know that according to Islamic faith, you have to persecute non-Muslims until they convert to Islam. And in the Ottoman Empire, they stopped that because they want to get jizya in order to support their treasury. So the Jewish minority was left alone to deal with the tyranny of rulers and common Muslims who are personally authorized by the Quran to protect and defend, even by force, the rules of the Sharia. This rule is known as the command to enjoin good and to forbid evil. الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر. Thus, permitting the mob to lynch any non-Muslim accused of insulting Islam and the Prophet without trial. The chilling accusation which every Jew was afraid even before we left is يهودي كفر بديني. This Jew cursed my religion. Before I left Iraq, a Muslim came and hit my bicycle. I kicked him. So he started shouting, يهودي كفر بديني. This Jew cursed my religion. All the people there, it was near the market of Badawin, knew me, and they laughed at his call to lynch me. So, in such a state of affairs, what remains for a Jew to save his life was either to the acquisition of wealth, the use of bribery, or escape to a tolerant country. The establishment of the Alliance Française in 1864 helped to improve to some extent the situation. Religious and economic persecution forced Jews in the Far East to find a tolerant country which would establish enable them to establish their utopian settlements to practice their religious duties and trades. You know, the festival of Abu Hasira in Tantai, the Muslims wanted to stop it by telling that they are drinking wine and singing, so they have to forbid it. So, Islam, India was an ideal refuge for the Jews. Hinduism is completely different from Islam in that it is polytheistic, and unlike monotheistic religions, has no official scribes, that is, no canon, with many schools of belief, with no prophecy, no jihad. The jihad is in fact Muslim ghazu of other tribes, and the case of Khaybar. So, and Hinduism is tolerant to other religions, even the worshipping of idols. What Daesh is doing today in Iraq and Sham, it was the original way of Futuhat, that means conquering by Islam. So India, with its tolerant and peaceful Hindu culture and spiritual concept, and later on with the domination of the liberal British authorities in India, became an ideal refuge for persecuted minorities from the Islamic world. It provided free practice of Judaism and security of life and property. Wealthy Jewish merchants considered India an ideal diaspora in which to acquire wealth and the freedom to practice their religious duties. The life and activities of the late David Sassoon, the founder of the Sassoon dynasty, the Rothschild of the East, who were wealthy businessmen among the Babylonian Jews, supported the educational system in Iraq and extended help to their brethren, as Dr. Meir said, Israel Ramana, that means unity of the Jews, although they are dispersed all over the world. So their help, their brethren, and intersected on their behalf in case of persecution. David Sassoon established himself in India. His descendants arrived in England, achieved wealth, integrated into British society, and befriended the British royalty. Their biography symbolized the plight of Jews in the Muslim world. Their escape to India symbolized the benevolent prosperity and good fortune of Baghdadi Jews in India and the Far East. Their blessing and their blessing to the Jewish community extended not only to Baghdad, but to all Jewish communities in Iraq and England. You are punishing me? טוב. טוב. Anyway, I obey the chairman as an academic, and the great thing is that The editors of the Scribe found in the personality of General Jacob as a symbol of the Jew. He said, look here, a Jew from Baghdad defeated the Muslim army in Pakistan, whom they claim that they are descendants of Iraq. So for them, as if Field Marshal or General Jacob symbolized the revenge of the Baghdadi Jews for their persecution by Muslims. Thank you.